Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines we have for you today. The spot Bitcoin ETFs and what's going on. And what about Evergrande tied to Tether? We could have bad news there. And what about XRP spot ETFs? We got some clarification on that. And John Deaton, we got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, $1.7 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is off by 0.8%, 42,000 slightly over for Bitcoin, 2,200 plus for Ethereum. Tether market cap's 95.9 billion plus. XRP's 52 cents. We're off by 1.4 on the 24-hour, off by 1.7 on the 7-day. The range of price very quickly. 52 cents on the bottom, 53 on the top. It's not moving around a lot today, so we'll keep an eye on it. And here, I want to remind everybody right here, ladies and gentlemen, the countdown is on. 94 days away till the most important conversations with top industry leaders on crypto begin. I kid you not. Get your ticket today to XRP Las Vegas. Come on, let's go. VIP's going to sell out soon. Have dinner with Brad Garlinghouse. Get your ticket. Support the Digital Chamber of Commerce. David Schwartz on stage, ladies and gentlemen.
But one thing that I really like
Uphold.
is I think you'll see a lot more of these neo-banking type of services come into play. I think you will start to be able to use your crypto portfolio to have a debit card and pay, or you'll be able to send money. You know, I could send money to Fabio or crypto to Fabio, just like I send Venmo today.
That's exactly right. And I just want to show you something here too, because if you haven't gone to the site to take a look, I really encourage you to do so, because look, we have obviously so many incredible people like Honorable Christian Carlo, Perry Ann Boren, Simon McLaughlin, David Schwartz, Kevin Maloney, and so many more are going to be announced yet. You don't even know, but look at all the companies that have been coming on, ladies and gentlemen. It just keeps going. There's so much more I want to tell you about, and I can't speak on, but make sure you get your ticket. VIP tickets will sell out, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get started right here. Do not forget, Evergrande shares have been halted in Hong Kong court-ordered liquidation. This is because they are absolutely having problems. It is a big problem. Remember, Evergrande can be a cascading effect that goes outside of China. Not to mention, it has been said multiple times, and we don't have absolute proof, but we have heard multiple times that Evergrande could be tied to USD Tether, as remarked here by Eggrad Crypto. That's the point of trying to understand this news story outside of the fact that you got to remember Evergrande tied heavily to China and their banking system. All central banking systems are tied to the hip. So this could end up being a cascading thing if it gets worse. We'll keep an eye on it. Meanwhile, BlackRock's spot ETF here at home hits 2 billion assets under management as Bitcoin roars past 42,000. And we see today starts the day. It marks a significant shift as Google's latest policy update now allows the ads to be shown for Bitcoin and Bitcoin exchange traded funds. How about this? This is a big deal, ladies and gentlemen. Today's a big deal, and I find it to be no surprise that this is being lifted 2 weeks before the largest event in the world is to be watched on television, the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, it must be dawning on Charles Schwab as well, as the multi-trillion-dollar asset management firm could make its foray into Bitcoin exchange-traded funds market. Analysts predict. Funny how that happens. But meanwhile, the battle is still being fought inside of Congress, specifically here in the Senate. There's more crypto advocacy, it appears, from where I'm sitting, in the House of Representatives than in the Senate. And right now, we have 18 U.S. senators, predominantly Republican, now support cryptocurrency, according to Stand with Crypto. Now, this is a big deal because, look, there's 100 senators. We're going to need 51 to get anything through. This is not enough. It's a start, but it's not enough. So look at the ETFs for Bitcoin, if we could. I want to play this clip here of the CEO of the Chamber of Digital Commerce. One second here. It's a great clip with Tony from Thinking Crypto and Cody Carbone. And I want you to hear his remarks because of the awareness that it's bringing to the people on Capitol Hill. And I think, look, there's a couple things I'm taking from this. You guys know that I believe that the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETFs and soon to be many, many other ETFs in this space as well on top of these digital assets, because I think we're going to see hundreds, if not thousands of these actually launched in the near term. Now, with that being said, I want people to understand that I have always said that I believe seeing that approval of the spot Bitcoin ETF is confirmation for me that we are going to see a correction or a collapse in the traditional stock market. And through that collapse, you're also going to see the tokenization of traditional market stocks and derivatives. So now listen to this clip here with Cody Carbone and how couple what I'm saying and my speculation with what Cody's saying and about how these spot Bitcoin ETFs are waking up the Congress or congressional officials to really start to see all of this in a different light because they're familiar with ETFs. Take a listen.
The big names like BlackRock, Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, and many more who got their ETFs approved. And I'm curious, how is this echoing in DC? Are members of Congress or other folks now like, whoa, what's going on here? In a positive way, of course. Are you hearing comments around the ETFs?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to steal this from Michael Saylor, but he called it Bitcoin's IPO. And so what it did, it really brought additional legitimacy to so many members who I think just get their information on this industry from headlines, from the media. And so now when they see, all of these headlines like Bitcoin ETFs, they're live, they were approved, but then they see the names associated, the ones that you listed, BlackRock, Fidelity, Wisdom Tree, Bitwise. They go, whoa, wait a second, what's happening here? Oh, this is legitimate. And I've heard from several members of Congress who know nothing about Bitcoin, blockchain technology, and I'm trying to change that and rectify that. Yeah. And they're like, oh, so I love ETFs. And so now I can have exposure to Bitcoin and I don't have to go through that whole wallet rigmarole and try to figure that out and go on an exchange. But now I can get exposure. That's pretty cool. I've been investing in ETFs for years. And I'm like, okay, there's light bulbs going off. And so I think the sentiment has been that this is overwhelmingly positive. I know the market hasn't looked great in the last 2 weeks since they went live, but members of Congress for the first time, and the ones I'm referring to are the ones off the the committees we always talk about, the Financial Services Committee, the Act Committee, the ones that are doing this. It's those members on other committees who haven't been paying attention. Sure. And they've only paid attention when they hear FTX or now Elizabeth Warren is saying something, but they like money. And they hear about something that they've invested in forever, and now they've got exposure to this new asset class that people are talking about forever, and now it makes sense to them for the first time.
This is a key point that Cody's making here, because this is how you build a bridge to get people to understand these assets better. You've actually touched them in an area that they invest, so now they're kind of putting the dots together, and they can reverse engineer their knowledge and what they need to know to gap fill from where they actually are. I think this is a huge positive step forward, no doubt about it. And because listen, at the end of the day, we've got to get the votes in Congress to put the right bills through that it doesn't stifle innovation. Again, I don't fool around with politics, but unless it comes to a crossroads of my pursuits and my endeavors. And here we see JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, Goldman Sachs drafting landmark lawsuit against the Federal Reserve. Wait a minute, don't the banks own the Federal Reserve? Yeah, they do. But here's what it's over. The Fed wants the banks to hold an additional 20% in cash on their balance sheets. They're designed to ensure that there's enough capital to withstand concerns about liquidity and avert the types of bank runs that ripped through the banking sector 1 year ago. But the banks say the rules are far too strict. Remember, banks take $10 from you and then they'll lend 100. They only hold 1/10 of what they lend because that's fractional lending. That's what they do. This is why they don't want to hold the additional 20, because they're saying that actually would, internal analysis shows that they would actually be forced to keep 30% in cash. Oh, God forbid, right? Well, Scalia, the son of the Supreme Court justice, says that the Fed has plenty of explaining to do as a matter of the legal process. It's not going to be enough to say that a bunch of regulators got together in Switzerland and this rule is the way they brought down what they brought down from the mountain. The agencies have to do their own work, explaining why these new requirements are properly calibrated and why their benefits are worth the cost. This proposal doesn't do that. Banks across the U.S. can face significant losses on bonds. And although banks can simply hold bonds until they mature, they can become an extreme liability when banks need an injection of liquidity because they can't get the liquidity if they have to hold it to maturity, right? Because it's upside down otherwise. So this all plays into what Cody was saying, like the exposure to ETFs kind of gives awareness to Capitol Hill, right? But it also, we need to have that momentum and understanding to get these things approved. But it also speaks to the cynicism of what I believe and the speculation I've had that these products, the spot Bitcoin ETFs, are going to be introduced as a Band-Aid, as a flight to quality, let's say, like Larry Fink from BlackRock says, to give them some high ground because there obviously is going to be something coming, a day of reckoning coming, because the banks that own the Federal Reserve want to sue the Federal Reserve and say, I don't want to hold more cash on hand because that means I'm holding more bonds. And if bonds are going to face significant losses, that means I have to hold that bond to maturity, which means I can't call on it when I would need the liquidity. So why hold 20%? Why hold 30% if I got to hold a bond that's upside down till 5 or 10 years? It doesn't help me. That's what the banks are saying, which is another signal that they know that there's a collapse coming too. That's what I take from that. Moving to this now. There's been conversation ever since the spot Bitcoin approval that we would see a spot XRP ETF approval. Future ETFs is not required for approval, says Bloomberg analyst. Now, this is different than what we've heard recently, so let's clear the air here because that's what this is for. Now, we know there was some confusion that James Seifert had said that there wouldn't be a spot XRP ETF approved without having a XRP futures ETF first. So let's go through it here very quickly. The crypto market anticipates a spot XRP ETF after the SEC approved the spot Bitcoin ETF in mid-January, setting the stage for potential approval of the spot Ethereum ETFs as well. Moreover, Ripple's hiring of a senior manager role in institutional decentralized finance, as we covered, hints from Bitcoin ETF issuers are considered preparatory move for XRP ETF. But if you remember, that Ripple job hiring was for more than one ETF. It was for ETF products. So not just XRP, I would imagine, because remember, XRP Ledger is also a decentralized exchange. So I think that's also to manage multiple different ETFs. So however, it says here, reacting to an X post by Grok, the AI chatbot on X, response that a spot XRP ETF will not require approval of a future ETF. Fox Business journalist Eleanor Terrett asked Bloomberg ETF analysts Eric Bolkunas and James Seifert whether a future ETF is necessary for a spot ETF approval. And this is what Grok said. No, a future ETF does not need to be approved for a spot ETF to go live. There are two different types of exchange-traded funds that track different aspects of the market. So there's that from Grok, just to shorten it out. Eleanor Terrett asserts CME Bitcoin futures market as surveillance tools is one of the key reasons behind the SEC spot Bitcoin ETF approval. Bloomberg ETF analyst James Seifert said a future ETF is not required. However, a regulated market is an essential parameter for the SEC when deciding to approve any ETFs. The CME Bitcoin futures market is indeed a surveillance tool for the spot Bitcoin ETF. Financial expert Scott Johnson also agreed with James Seifert that you need a futures market, not necessarily a futures ETF. Moreover, he explained that a futures ETF helps add liquidity to the futures market, improving trading activity for correlation with spot prices that boost probabilities for a spot ETF. So there's a difference between a futures market and a futures ETF, right? So we don't have the futures ETF for XRP in the US, but we do have it outside the US. So keep your eyes peeled, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, XRP in and of itself is not security. John Deaton explains Ripple's victory over the SEC and also talks about the REVAC case, which plays a very important role here. Now, I want to update you on what's going on here because we know Coinbase is in the throes of it as well. John Deaton said when people brought up the district court ruling of the library case, his response every time was, read the Second Circuit REVAC case. Library was a case governed by the First Circuit and the SG case. The Ripple and Coinbase cases are governed by the Second Circuit and REVAC. So, with that being said, in praise, Paul Grewal, the chief legal officer for Coinbase, drew attention to the REVAC case by praising the part that raised questions about whether defining an investment contract based on an ecosystem access point of view was possible. He discussed the court's view on the Howey test and emphasized that a simple link between the investment wealth and promoter efforts does not meet the requirements. The court said that for investments to be based on chance, the everyday business must depend on promoters' knowledge in a big way. John Deaton agreed with Grewal and said that the REVAC case was similar to legal fights between Library, Ripple, and Coinbase. He went on to detail about the differences in jurisdiction, pointing out how the REVAC case, which the Second Circuit heard, was related to the current cases of Ripple and Coinbase. In the big picture, the current legal battles between the SEC and two well-known cryptocurrency companies like Ripple Labs and Coinbase have big effects on the digital asset industry. The most recent event happened on January 18th when the federal judge said the SEC could proceed with its case against Coinbase. However, the judge limited the lawsuit's reach by leaving out some SEC claims. People thought that this move was partly good for Coinbase because it limits the company's possible legal problems. And you know what? This is where we're at right now, right? We're at the place where because Capitol Hill doesn't want to address legislation, we're at a place now where the SEC is pushing the cases they feel like they can win. And thank goodness they have not been winning. But that's what they're doing to try to set legal precedent. Now, so far, it's been in our favor for the most part. But this is like, wow, why are we not seeing Congress put forth legislation? And it's because I believe that Congress has given the blessing, regardless of the soapbox talk that you hear from the right side of the aisle. They could issue a subpoena and shut all this down if they wanted to, but they haven't. And they haven't because I believe that there is a coordinated agreement or consensus amongst Congress, right and left, that has decided they want the courses to set legal precedent on a certain amount of decisions and cases in this case, or in this space. And once they have that, those legal decisions can be used as watermarks or a frame or outline of legislation for Congress and Capitol Hill. So this is where we are today, ladies and gentlemen. And look, it may feel like it's going to take forever to get here, and I'm sure that it does. But you know what I do understand? It won't. It won't. We're going to get there. And it will feel like it's going to take forever, but once we do, there's no going back. It's coming. And the next couple years are going to be absolutely critical to making this transformation complete. And it will happen. There's no question. And I'm here to see it happen. I'm here with all of you. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. That's why I'm asking you to join us, digperspectives.com. Join us in the Freedom Zone. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into it today. Oh my, oh my. We've got a whistleblower, ladies and gentlemen. An archbishop now is exposing the World Economic Forum. And we're going to cover it inside the Freedom Zone, where we know we got freedom of speech because it doesn't exist anywhere else. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'll catch all of you on the next one. We'll see you in the Freedom Zone. Come on in.